Stone Paxton Music and Life. Welcome to my channel. For all those that are not subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you hit like, and also make sure you hit that bell to get the notifications for all my latest videos. Stone Paxton Music and Life, and we're back again, you guys, with another one. But this time we're going to do exactly what I said I was going to do. I wanted to expand on the subject of placements, because that's something that I get hit up about all the time. People ask me, how am I privy to be able to work with a lot of major artists? People ask me, how am I privy to be able to have relationships with so many artists in the industry? This business is 100% about relationships. Remember that. The same people we meet going up that ladder in music are the same people we're going to meet coming down that ladder. So relationships in this music industry are imperative. They're very important, very, very important for you to have. They're very important for you to have. They're very important for you to keep. Okay, those relationships are the relationships that turn into placements, if that's what you're looking for. But we're going to expand on that as well. In my history of 40 years of being in the music industry, and people say, 40, how old are you? I'm 54. So I've been in this business a long time. I've been in the music industry so long that most people that watch my channel, the younger generation, probably weren't even born. Now, I know that sounds crazy when I say that, but that's a fact. I always ask people when people talk the logistics of music and they want to have conversations with me about music, I ask them a few things. I say, especially when they're talking like they know the game of the music game, I ask them a few questions. Usually I'll say, what were you doing back in 85? I always ask that question. Usually when I ask that question, it causes the conversation to taper off to a reality conversation. Because if I ask you, what were you doing in 85, and you say you weren't born, then there really isn't a conversation that you and I can both have about the music industry. Because when you were born, I was doing this before you were born. And when you weren't born, I was still doing this. So I always tell people relationships are important, but also having respect for those that have come before you. It doesn't matter if it's the guy around the corner, the guy across the street, somebody in your family. And this is my advice to younger producers and even older producers that don't have the experience, but that still want to get in the game. But this goes out mostly to the younger generation, because if older producers at least know one thing, and that is they have the level of respect. They understand respect and integrity. You feel what I'm saying? So I would have to target this conversation more towards the younger generation, the modern young generation. Relationships are imperative. Producers, relationships are imperative. Producers that think they know more than another producer, relationships are imperative. Period. Like, you can't make it in this business without great relationships. Here's how you know. I can go to any studio in Vegas, that's nothing, and I can call them up and say, I want to come in here and interview you, right? That's easy to do. But when you start in the music industry dealing with the top tier people, right? The top tier, let's say the 1%ers in the music industry. So we'll call it the 1%ers. I'm not talking about people that are just rappers. I'm not talking about people that are just singers. When I say 1% of the music industry influencers, I'm talking about the executives, the ones that write the checks, the ones that can sign you, the ones that make the biggest decisions, the top producers, the top writers. When you're sitting at the table with these people and you're having conversations and they take your phone calls, no matter what time of night you call, they take your phone call. This is when you know you've built great relationships. I'm not talking about, once again, a producer, influencer. I'm talking about people that have really paid their dues in the music industry. Picking up the phone and calling them, and them taking your call will tell you the level of respect you have as a producer. Okay? The 1% executives, the 1% writers and producers, top. If they take your phone call, if they pick up the phone and call you, if legends are calling you, and your conversation is privy to an ear audience from people like that, then that tells you the respect that you have earned in the years of you being in this business. So when people, I always find it interesting, people get on my channel. What I'm learning these days too is people don't read. Like if I go to somebody's YouTube channel, first thing I do is I go look up their description of who they are and what they do, right? I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to be ignorant, because this person could have done, this person could be signing acts with huge budgets, and I don't want to be a dummy to who they are. And not only that, I might end up needing this person in the future. See, this is why relationships are important. We got to be careful of rubbing people wrong in this business. You have to be careful. If you're trying to make it as a producer, as an artist, you got to be careful at rubbing people the wrong way out of disrespect. That's all I'm saying. Like, know who people are. Not everybody on YouTube are just content creators. There's a lot of people on YouTube. There's a few people on YouTube who are real people and who have real histories, and they might not even really talk about what they've done, but they have a history. They have a long history, and they don't just have a YouTube history, right? And they don't just have maybe one or two songs that have been placed. They might have a long history as a producer where they've gotten tons of records that have been out. Because see, in the music industry, we're only as good as our last record. Notice I didn't say hit. And sometimes they like using the word hit in the music industry. They say you're only as good as your last hit. But also they say you're only as good as your last release. So it doesn't matter if I had 20 songs out 5 years ago. What am I doing now? What do I have out now? It doesn't have to be a hit. What do I have out right now as a producer? If I call myself an artist, what does Stone Paxton have out as an artist? Is Stone Paxton consistent? Does he drop records consistently? Is this producer consistent? Does he drop records consistently? Is that producer consistent? Does he drop records consistently, either on himself or on other people? These are the things that are important in the music industry. I want you guys to understand that. So people that are sitting in the studio working on singles forever, working on albums forever, and they never come out, or a year pass, and then you're talking about, it's coming and it never comes, or 2 years pass and it never comes. We're only as good as the last project that we released, or in general, anything we release, because the music industry will judge us off of what are we doing. Well, I'm a rapper. Okay, what did you put out? Well, I'm still working on it. I'm a singer. Well, what did you put out? Well, I'm still working on it. Nobody cares about what you're still working on, because it's a competitive market right now. And the only thing that matters is what you have out. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a hit. It doesn't have to be a hit. I'm just talking about independently, being consistent and keeping relationships so that you can pick up the phone and call somebody important for advice that's in the game. So that you can email somebody that's important, that's in the game. Those are the things that matter. Relationships, you'll be surprised. Having a relationship with the right person in the industry and calling them, and they're working on all kinds of cool projects, and you get brought in on something major that you never thought you would. But because you built a relationship with the right people, it afforded you not just one placement, but a long-time relationship that's going to keep bringing you opportunity. You see, you can't clown your way into a relationship. You can't do the song and dance your way into a relationship, because people that have paid their dues and have been in this game a long time and is really making heavyweight moves, they know the hustle. They know the voice hustle. They know the tap dancing hustle. They know. So they know when you come in real sincere and when you're not, or when you're full of that crap, right? So I say this: build great relationships. Doesn't matter where you meet the person. If you know this person is connected to some major stuff, there's so much stuff that I do and my circle of people do. People wouldn't imagine some of the things that I'm responsible for. Some of the artists that I'm responsible for their careers, like for real. Some of the artists that I was behind, and because of me, they have careers. Some of the relationships that I have and some of the phone calls I get every single day, high level phone calls, high level conversations on, and we talking about millions and millions of dollars worth of business. Without me having to disclose those details, I'll say this. When my phone rings, it's always about something very, very major. Now, it wasn't always like that, but I spent 40 years building great relationships in this business, being signed to Warner Brothers, Grand Jury Warner Brothers, Grand Jury Interscope, Grand Jury RCA, having the relationships, really being with the people, not fronting, not talking, and not really being jealous of other producers, other writers, but keeping my relationships with everybody, because I never knew who I'm going to need in the future. So I keep my relationships with everybody. I don't default on none of my relationships in the music industry at all, because I never know. You see, the thing about the music industry is real tricky. You never know year from year who's going to be the head A&R at Capitol or Atlantic or Warner Brothers. You never know. It could be somebody you came across and you rubbed them the wrong way, or you did something that made them go, I can't trust that person, I don't want to mess with them, or you were disrespectful. If people really knew, as time goes and the future goes, you'll see more about me and my relationships. Once again, I don't like to brag, and I'm just telling you guys about keeping relationships and building the right relationships in the industry. But I will tell you this, as the future goes and we continue to roll on in life and year by year passes, you're going to look up and you'll be able to read more and more about the things that I'm saying. You'll be able to read and see some of the moves that I've made, some of the moves that I've helped major artists make behind the scenes. I can't talk about it right now, but you'll be privy to see that in the future. And I'll be having this conversation again saying, this is kind of what I was telling you guys about some of the moves that I make, that I'm helping a lot of major artists, but I can't really talk about it because we're in the middle of certain moves, right? Now, I wouldn't be able to even do these things had it not been for these artists that I built relationships with. And through the years, they call me, they call on me, they come here to my studio, they fly in town to come talk to me, to ask for my help, my professionalism, my expertise. Whether it be on production or business, it's always about one or the other, but they call. Okay, so I'm having this conversation because I think that a lot of people don't understand how important relationships in the music industry are. I say to you and everybody watching this video, relationships are the number one key factor to the music industry and making it. There's been artists that have been super duper untalented through the years, and we all have heard some. We've all said to ourselves, I'm better than that person. All you guys have said that. Everybody's done that, rappers and singers. But the reason why that artist made it was because their humility, and they built relationships, and they listened, and they didn't think they knew everything, and they listened. You understand? So me, I was always a great follower. That's how I became a great leader. If you can't be a great follower, if you can't listen, if you think you already know, you think you already made it, you'll never make it in the music industry. Now, there's some people that say that not everybody's going to make it in the music industry. Me, I think I'm tossed at 80-20 with that. 80% going, okay, I can understand why people say that and why us industry people say that. And then 20%, I don't agree. Because I believe that anybody can make it in this business if you really, really start with building your relationships. Whether you're extremely talented or not, if you build strong relationships and those people see you working consistently and they're giving you tips on how to become better, you can become successful in this business by your own hand. You can make that happen by your own hand, by you dropping records, staying consistent, staying performing, records, dropping, consistent, marketing, promotions, and building relationships. Because what happens is people in the industry will sit back and watch you. And they'll watch you and they'll go, I've been watching this cat for some years now. And then they'll say, I like this cat. I like this person. Okay, you know what? Let me see where they're at with their career. And they'll hit you up. What's been going on? You say, I'm working on, send me something. You never know when somebody in the industry is watching you. You never know when they're paying attention to you. So I say this once again, build relationships. Building is very important in this business. Keep ego out and focus on building relationships. Stop thinking you're better than somebody and stop thinking you know more than somebody. If you do, then you've already made it. If you do, then you probably don't need to hear anything I have to say because it means you're already at the top. But if you're not and you haven't been privy to be at the top, if you haven't been privy to sit at that table and eat at the same table those people that are making those moves eat at, then you haven't made it, because you don't have to have a hit record to make it, but you damn sure got to be in that circle of people and be privy to those conversations and those meetings to be at that level and understand that you've made it to a certain level in the music industry. So I say, build relationships, build your catalog and build your relationships and drop records. Stop sitting around waiting for a placement. Create your own placements. But if you are going to think about placements, the first step is to build super, super great relationships with the right people. And most of those right people, you're not going to run into them easy. You're not just going to walk into the mall and run into them, because most of the right people are in an office or they're in the studio working. They're not out where you can just run into them all the time. So if you have access to the right people, keep those relationships. Build on that. Focus on your career. Drop records. Stay consistent. You can make whatever you want happen. That 20% can be turned to 80%, and then that 100%, to where you're in control of your career and things are working the way that you want. But it'll never work if you don't understand how to build relationships and keep them. Build them and keep them. I've had a lot of people that ruin relationships with me and not realize how important I was or I could have been to their career. Now, I'm not saying I'm God. I'm not saying I'm the Grand Poobah. But what I am saying is I'm very well connected with a lot of important people that do $100 million deals every single day. And that's not cap. From movies to TV, film, and albums, for real conversation. So all I'm saying is I wasn't privy to get in that circle until they felt like I was worthy of that. And that took years of me working and keeping my relationship and showing my consistency. So once again, relationship build is the key to anything. I don't care what it is. Even living in a neighborhood, you got a relationship build with your neighbors to keep a rapport so that your neighbors can trust you, so that you can talk to your neighbors and you guys can share what's going on in the neighborhood. Same thing in school. When you go to school, when you go to college, same thing if you're working a job. It's relationship building with your boss. You got to keep the relationship to keep your job. Do you think it's different in the music industry? It's not. You got a relationship build to get in the game, and you have to keep that relationship to stay in the game. That's my advice to anyone looking for a placement, trying to make it, being successful. Focus on a relationship and focus on your records, dropping records, building your catalog, and keeping and continuously building your relationship, okay? Stone Paxton Music and Life, you guys. There's another one. I'll keep dropping some of these gems. I don't always drop these gems because people consult with me, but I'm going to start doing more of this for YouTube. I appreciate you guys for always tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next video. And I'm out. Stone Paxton Music and Life.